MSP Mike, how are you?
I'm not so bad. I've been trying to take your advice and use more of the tools available in Microsoft 365.
That's great news, Mike.
Kind of. Look, when it comes to installing applications on computers, I always used to do it the traditional way. I just had loads of applications on a memory stick or on a server share somewhere. It was kind of easy. But then I watched your video on YouTube about how to install applications via Intune.
Oh, good. How'd you get on?
Well, in theory, yeah, it sounds great. But in reality, application packaging in Intune is really fiddly, and we get loads of errors. If I'm honest with you, I've gone back to using my memory stick.
I know what you mean, Mike. When it works well in Intune, it's good. But I admit, some applications can be tricky.
Plus, as you know, I run an MSP, so I've got dozens of tenancies, all these Microsoft Intunes. Just takes too long.
Well, as you know, Mike, I love all things Microsoft. But sometimes an application comes along that just makes our lives that little bit easier. And one of these applications that I've found is called Pckgr, but it's spelled Pckgr. Crazy, I know.
Tell me more about Pckgr.
Well, Pckgr connects directly into your Microsoft Intune, and it's got an application library of more than 600 Windows and Mac applications, all packaged up and ready to go. Plus, it can manage the updates to the applications too, so it saves so much time.
Pckgr sounds like just the thing. One potential problem though, we don't just use common applications like Chrome and Firefox. We look after a lot of law firms and accountants. They've got loads of custom and bespoke applications.
Don't worry about that, Mike. You can also add your own custom applications in Pckgr.
Pckgr sounds great. How can I see it in action?
Well, Mike, you're in luck because Pckgr are today's Takeover Tuesday. Welcome to another episode of Takeover Tuesday, a time when we invite a specialist company who provides software or services that can help secure, maintain, or make your Microsoft 365 that little bit easier. Now, Pckgr are an Australian company born out of a frustration of application packaging for Intune. And I know what they mean. I mean, packaging applications via Intune can be tricky, error-prone, and very frustrating. And as Mike pointed out earlier, if you're an MSP or you're managing multiple tenants, this task can take even longer. This is where Pckgr can really help. I'm sure you're going to be impressed by this application. I love it. So now on to the demo. Let me show you into the dashboard, and I'm going to show you how easy it is to add your first tenant into Pckgr. Let's go. So this is the Pckgr website. Now, one of the first things you'll notice is how clean it is and how minimalist it is. And that's one of the things that I really love about this product. And that kind of cleanness follows through into the portal as well, which you'll see in a few moments' time. The first thing I want to show you is the application list. That's what a lot of people are interested in. So at the top, you can see that this is the Windows repository. So these are applications for Windows devices. Now, these are in alphabetical order, and you can see as I start to scroll down, there are lots and lots of different applications. Look, we're still on A, we're just getting to B now. There are hundreds of applications that you can install for your business, okay? We can look at macOS as well, okay? Not as many applications as Windows, but that's to be expected. But we've still got a nice library of applications. So let's now log in to the portal, and I'll click on Login here. Now you can see here, look, we can start deploying applications in minutes without any packaging skills. Now, if you've had a go at packaging applications with Intune, you'll know this is a definite advantage. A couple of ways we can log in. We can have an email address and a password, which we've registered with Pckgr, or we can just use our Microsoft 365 credentials. So we take advantage of all our Microsoft security, MFA, etc. So I'll use that. I'll enter my email address, click Next, enter the password, click on Sign In, go through the 2FA. So this is the Pckgr portal. I promised you It was nice and clean. The first thing I want to call out is this banner at the top here, the device count. So this is how Pckgr does its billing, and you fall into one of 3 different pricing plans. Now I'm going to talk all about pricing towards the end of the video. But I've got a business plan, which is the top plan, and that gives me access to 2,500 devices. So this is the total number of devices in Intune across all of my tenants in Pckgr. Okay, so if I've got 10 tenants registered in Pckgr and they've all got 250 devices in Intune each, I would hit my total device count. Okay, you can get more devices, but as I said, I'll explain that later in the video. Another thing to mention is the docs section here. Pckgr have spent lots of time creating a really good document library. So again, it's easy to get up and running. You can see here it also integrates with Company Portal and Autopilot. So it's one of these applications that they invest heavily in their documentation. And as MSPs, I know we really appreciate that. First things first, let's get a new tenant into Pckgr, and I'll show you how easy it is. So we go to My Companies and we click on Add a Company. We enter the company name. I call this Pckgr 365 guy. Click on Add. Okay, at the moment we can see Intune verified, we're not connected. We can also set an email address for notifications, but what I'm going to do now is connect to Intune. I'm going to enter the global admin for my Microsoft 365 test tenancy. Click on Next. Enter the global admin password for my test tenancy. Click on Sign In. Go through my MFA. We've got to agree to the Pckgr permissions, so I click on Accept. And you can see at the top here, it's trying to connect to the tenant. And you can see the connection was successful. That is essentially it. So if I go into My Companies now, you can see that I'm connected to Intune. And you can see the device count here. So this is a test tenancy with 1 Windows device in it. So you can see that my device count has already moved onto 1. So you can see how easy that was to add a tenancy into Pckgr. Okay, that was easy enough. But what you really want to see is how to install applications. So now let's continue with the demo. I'm going to show you how to deploy an application from Pckgr to Intune and then onto the device. Let's go. Okay, this is where the rubber meets the road. Installing applications from Pckgr into Intune and then onto a Windows 11 device. So here's my Pckgr dashboard. I've also got Intune open here. Look, go to Apps. You can see if I go to my Windows applications, I've just got my Microsoft 365 apps from a previous video. I've also got a Windows 11 VM. There is only 1 device in this tenancy, and that is the device that is listed here, 1 out of 2,500. Okay, so I go to App Library, and you can see that my tenant is at the top. So if I'm multi-tenant, if I've got lots of different companies in here, I simply click on the drop down, choose the tenancy, and then select Add New App. So we'll keep our repository at Windows. Then we've got an option for standard hosted apps. So all these apps are in the Winget repository. Pckgr also has a private repository. Now I'm going to talk more about that later in the video when we talk about pricing and plans. So what I do, I just simply choose an app. So shall we go with 7-Zip? Click on the plus. You can see that that application is now ready for deployment. And you can see here, look, awaiting deployment. So then I click on these 3 dots here and I click on deployment. So we've got more options here. So we can upgrade this application from Winget to private repository. So again, I've discussed that just quickly and we will talk about it later in the video. We can enter any custom install strings here. So /silent, or if you want a serial number or no reboot or any other strings that is needed to install your applications. We can do those there. We've then got this update only tab. So you would switch this on if you only wanted to update devices that already had this application installed. So if you've got a device with 7-Zip installed, this would update 7-zip on that device. If you had a device without it installed, it wouldn't do anything. It wouldn't deploy 7-zip, okay? So I'm going to leave this to off. We can set a display name within the Intune portal. So I will, just to show you what that looks like. So I'll put this, 7-zip demo. We can remove the version from the display name in Intune. Again, I will leave this off and I'll show you what I mean when it goes through to Intune. We've then got the auto update, which I think is a great feature of this application. This is set to yes, and when it's set to yes, new versions of this app, so new versions of 7-zip, will be automatically tested by Pckgr, packaged, and pushed to Intune. Great feature. Then we've got some advanced installer tasks. So the default is just a silent install, but what we can do, we can allow the users to defer if they want, okay? And we can put a defer count there. Talking about closing applications, we can allow defer and close applications. So that gives more power to the user. So a pop-up will appear and say, this new application needs to be installed. These applications need to be closed in order for this install to happen. Do you want to defer it? Okay. We've got some prompt for restarts, removing shortcuts, etc. I will leave that as silent. Click on deploy to Intune. And here we go. So we're going to have the winget pre-install, which is going to be pushed through to Intune first. And when that's succeeded, it will follow through with 7-zip. That is now deploying. It's now uploading files. Okay, if I just pop over to Intune, you can see the winget pre-install is there. So that's going to go to succeeded shortly. The winget pre-install is now successful. So it will move on now to 7-zip. 7-zip is now uploading its files. Let me just hop back to Intune. 7-zip is there. So this will turn to success in a moment. It has done. So 7-zip demo. Remember when I put the word demo at the end? And we left the version in there. So that is why it's appeared like that. So if I just click into the application and go to properties, you can see this is what Pckgr has done for us. It's done everything. It's added the logo. It's added all the install commands, all the uninstall commands. We would normally have to do this manually. And even then, we might not get it right and it might come up with an error within Intune. Pckgr has done it all. How much time has that saved us? And remember, this is just one application that I'm showing you. So if you're an MSP, if you look after dozens or hundreds of different customers and they're all using different applications, how much time do you spend trying to package those into different Intunes? Using Pckgr is going to save you so much time. The only thing I have to do now is scroll down. It's all in Intune now, so I just have to assign it. So I can assign it to my users, or my devices, or whatever groups that we want to assign it to. I review and save, and I save it. Okay, and that will be pushed out to our Windows 11 virtual machine. Okay, here's our Windows 11 device, and you can see we now have 7-zip installed. The biggest delay actually was the Intune to the device bit, okay? And that can be due to a few factors like devices checking in and things like that. But you can see how easy it is just to push applications which are already packaged from Pckgr into Intune and how much time that is going to save you.
This looks great. It's so easy to install these standard applications. But as I mentioned before, we look after a lot of law firms and accountants. How do we install these custom apps using Pckgr?
Don't worry, Mike. There's a couple of options that you can use to deploy custom applications in Pckgr. And guess what? I'm going to show you. Okay, back to the Pckgr dashboard. Now, we've got a couple of options here. We've got request an application or custom applications. I'll just start with this here. So, request an application. We can send a request for an application to the Pckgr team. So we can request this via a winget ID. There's some documentation there. Or we can do a manual request. That is for business subscriptions only. So we can give it the name of the application and maybe a download link or a product website. And that will send a request off to the Pckgr team and they will work on it and try and get it added to the library for you. Okay? Or we've got a little option here, custom applications. And then we get this pop-up here. So add a new custom application. Now, Pckgr has come up with some best practices, okay? So you might need to go through these first, and then we put in an application name. So what I'm going to use in my example is this application here, okay? I'm going to download this accounting package. So I'll download, this is going to be an exe file, so that's going to download. And what I will do, I'll go back to Pckgr. The name of the application, we'll call this the same here. So we've got a couple of options here now. We can upload the file or provide a download link, okay? I'm going to upload the file because it's an exe. Here we go. Click on open. That is now uploading. Okay, that's uploaded. Click verify. And this can take about 15 minutes to complete, okay? So I won't keep you holding on here. I'll pause the video. Okay, that's taken maybe 5-10 minutes, and I've now got this verification complete. I can now deploy this application from my app library. If I click on view, so we've got application name, how it appears in Intune. We can change that. We can change this. We can do bits and pieces here, but I don't think we want to. We can upload an image. Okay, that is ready to go. I will click on save changes. This will now be available from the application library. So click on app library, add new app. Now we've got a couple of options. Is it a hosted app or a custom app? Well, I want to add my custom app this time, so I can click on here. Again, the same process before. It's awaiting deployment. Let's deploy it. I'm not going to change anything here. I've got my advanced options if I want, but let me deploy to Intune. Okay, this time it's building the application. It's uploading. And we have success. So shall we hop over to Intune? Go to apps. Let's go to Windows apps. And we can see it is now in my Intune tenant. And again, all we need to do is push that out via Intune. So go to properties, and all I would need to do is assign that to my PCs or my users. So that's how to do custom applications using Pckgr. Now, as you can see, Pckgr is extremely useful. Now, I've mentioned earlier in the video that we would move on to pricing and features, and now is the time. So let's jump over to the Pckgr pricing page, and I'll explain in a bit more detail. I told you we'd talk about pricing, so here we are on the pricing page. Now, with all plans, you can get a 30-day free trial. So that means you can test it out and you can test just how good it is in your business. But after that 30 days, you've got to move on to a paid plan. Now, we've got 3 plans. It's all nice and simple. You've got $29 a month, which supports up to 100 devices. So if you've got one tenancy perhaps, and you're the IT manager, and you've got maybe 80 devices, this could work for you at $29 a month, okay? You've got your applications to deploy, over 600 of them. If you've got more than 100 devices, get into kind of MSP territory, so up to 1,000 devices, then you need the professional plan. So if you're an MSP, you need that because it's multi-tenant, okay? You also then get the benefit of the Mac OS applications, which is still in beta, but you can still install Mac applications. Now, over 1,000 devices, you're moving on to the business plan, which gives you up to 2,500 devices. Now, there's a couple of key differences. Firstly, the private hosted repository and custom applications. Now, we've just seen custom applications now when we did the MYOB application. If you're an MSP and you're looking after law firms or accountants or anything or any company who uses custom applications, that feature is invaluable. What is this private hosted repository? So what's a repository? Well, repositories, it's a storage location where applications are kept, they're managed, they're retrieved for deployment. It's just a storage facility. So the standard repository used by Pckgr is Winget, okay, and that is a Microsoft's own repository, and it's a public repository. Now, that works really well a lot of the time, and it can be perfect for a lot of different businesses. But what Pckgr have done is they've created their own private hosted repository, and it's just for their own application. So what are the benefits of using Pckgr's private hosted repository? Well, there's a number. So firstly, it's stability. Unlike Winget, that pulls from third-party resources. The private repository are stored internally, and it prevents a lot of deployment failures due to missing, broken URLs, things like that. Also, this private hosted repository from Pckgr, it's optimized for Microsoft Intune. So it supports Microsoft delivery optimization, and it reduces the bandwidth usage, particularly in large deployments. And also, there's no external dependencies. So because applications are hosted by Pckgr, any vendor URL changes are not going to affect deployments. Now, as I've said, Winget is great, it's fine, but the private hosted repository is probably going to be the future of application deployment. Now, the way I look at this, so we're talking about the business plan here. I've got a decent sized MSP, okay? If Pckgr can save one of my engineers 2 to 3 hours every month, then we are saving money using Pckgr. It's as simple as that. You can't look at these things as being a cost. You're looking at these things in terms of time saving, and I hope I've demonstrated that throughout this video. It's going to make us more efficient, and it's going to save time, and that's the best thing you can do in your MSP. So that's the Pckgr pricing. So there you have it. Pckgr is an amazing tool if you're managing one tenant or you're an MSP managing hundreds of tenants. It can save you time. And if you're wanting to get started with Pckgr, I've included a link below this video. I hope you've enjoyed today's Takeover Tuesday. I know I have. I look forward to seeing you again soon.